Hello.
Welcome to season 7 of the Yaoi Shelf.
Wow.
Grab a seat and relax. Usually Carola and I have a little bit of host foreplay before we get started. Like the 90s and 2000s semes that raised us, we're diving right in today.
Yeah, we're just going for it. Like, we're going in dry. This is... Oh, boy.
Oh, there's so much that we need to say.
I have once again written up a document. I will try to remember to look at it.
Okay.
But I have some thoughts on this.
Oh, man.
Wow.
So season 7, I mean, I think whenever we talk about our seasons, there's usually like a kind of theme to it. Season 7's theme is like, hey, all those episodes we said we were going to do, this is us doing it.
Yeah, and it's like it's the oh well, we have to do this one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the fuck around and find out season that we keep teasing you all, saying, oh well, eventually we're gonna do this. Oh, eventually we're gonna do that. We're gonna fucking do it. So
wait no longer. Eventually is here. This is the eventually season.
Yep. So we're kicking it off by talking about something that, again, I think Carola and I, as we navigate this podcast, as we navigate being BL influencers, which is something that still hurts my soul to acknowledge.
Why does it hurt your soul?
I mean, it makes me happy, but also, like, don't listen to me. I'm bad. What was I doing right as you entered the studio today?
You were preparing for the episode.
With?
Maiden Rose. Is that a problem? Like, is that wrong now? I was just eating my dinner while watching Viewfinder on my entire fucking wall because I only have the projector screen.
I mean, you're not the person to ask as far as where my moral purity stands. You aren't the person to ask.
You know, that's a very good point. It's like, because sometimes it'll be like, that's not so bad, and then people are like, you. No.
I texted my aunt last night because she asked me what I was doing that evening, and I said, I'm gonna work on a writing project, and like she thinks I'm finally gonna write a book. And I'm like, how do I tell her that I'm writing Public Sex with Matt and Mello? It's a writing project. Don't worry about it.
I mean, it is. It is.
I wrote.
You wrote. Good job.
I wrote 1,000 words last night.
Wow. I wish I wrote 1,000 words.
But we're talking about vintage OVAs. We're talking about vintage OVAs. And it's something that, to get back to my point, Carola and I think sometimes take for granted that our audience is of a similar age and generation as we are. And looking at our demographics, for the most part, that's correct. You guys usually know what we're talking about when we say these things. However, you know, I'm looking at the way the internet is changing and how algorithms are changing, and there's more and more BL podcasts out there than ever before. And I realize that one thing that a lot of them miss is talking about history, is talking about the old ways. So while we take for granted that we're all in communion, we inevitably will find listeners that weren't there. That were fucking bored.
Again, must I recount my horrors of finding out that people walk around thinking that Love Stage is old. Like, number 6, the OG BL. Children, and I say this a lot because, you know, we talk about, because obviously we are the podcast that talks about history. We talk about the olden days.
We do.
Because, you know, I mean, and one of us actually exists also in the modern days and watch modern things. I'm not naming any names, but but we still, you know, we whinge poetically and traumatically and dissociate about the old days. But one of the things that we keep coming back to is also how there is this kind of like, there's this muddled line of what is the olden days, because again, like I said, while you were watching Maiden Rose, I was watching Viewfinder, and this is the vintage OVA special, right?
Mhm.
And then I look at the release date, and Viewfinder was released between 2012 and 2015.
Mhm.
So it's not really that old. But all of
It's
these OVAs to me, like if we talk about OVAs, I think about like early 2000s to mid
mhm.
90s. Like that's when I think they're
Mhm.
all from. And then you realize, what do you mean this came out? But we will also get to some of the reason why that is.
Right. We will have to, in the words of John Green during Crash Course, oppress you with the tyranny of dates.
I
Um,
have some
because
dates.
Well, because again, like that speaks so much to the older Fujin experience. Is
Yeah.
that we're seeing this stuff. I mean, not old enough to call it vintage, but a while enough ago. Like I remember, I had just moved into my first apartment, and I was watching the Maiden Rose OVA, and I felt like the dirtiest slut that I'd ever felt. Like a person that has had sex with men, I felt like the dirtiest fucking whore watching that OVA for some reason.
I
I
think
don't
that
know
is that
why.
must be the Catholic guilt because
It
I've never
must have
because
been.
listen, I've never had an experience like that, but I am also severely demented, I guess, and I don't know what shame is.
Well, and I also didn't feel anything this time.
But I mean, how many times have you seen it at this point?
Like 3 or 4.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought you'd like watched it like
Daily? No.
like religiously, like
That
you
and your
know.
one documentary we don't talk about on camera?
We do not talk about that documentary, which, by the way, I've only seen once. Actually,
That's
I
the one I watch weekly. That's what I'm watching weekly and not
that
Maiden Rose.
okay. Yeah, no, but like because we have things like I have things like um in more recent times, episode 6 of Kin Porsche comes to mind. Like
Mhm.
the amount of times that I have watched those two idiots be lost in the forest just to give myself some emotion. Like this is how I imagine you watching Maiden Rose, like at least once a year or something. Kind of like the way that in this house we watch Jurassic Park and Lord of the Rings and Silence of the Lambs at least once a year. Like that's
Okay.
just
Do you want to know what that is in this household?
yes.
It's the episode of Antique Bakery where Jean Baptiste shows up.
Of course it is! Fucking Jean Baptiste!
That's the show that I watch like once a year
Listen,
on Bastille Day, so he
yeah,
doesn't bother
I
me.
was gonna say it like in the spirit of this podcast and the tradition that we have conjured, where remember to leave a Mont Blanc and some cigarettes out, so Jean
The
Baptiste
Jean
won't appear
Baptiste.
and non-con your favorite character in the
Yeah,
night. I will
yeah.
now. I guess I will have to add to my yearly traditions to watch that episode on Bastille Day just to be sure.
Yeah,
Because
you don't want him non-conning your boys.
I don't
You might.
want him. Listen, and no, I don't. Because like I said in that episode when we talked about it, the one character I'm the most afraid for is Tamaki. I do not want Jean Baptiste anywhere near Tamaki. I can't. I won't risk it, Amanda. I will not.
Oh, Jean Baptiste would ruin him. I'm a terrible person. Speaking of terrible people, that's why we're talking about vintage OVAs
Oh
today.
God, yeah.
Carola and I got to relive the experience of her receiving her Tamaki plush from me.
We did.
Probably the most treasured gift I've ever sent her.
Yes.
Because one of my beloved plushies was on the floor and I had a meltdown. In a surprise to absolutely no one. I think I achieved something that is truly Amanda self-indulgent. I did. Carola, do you know what today is?
Today?
Yes.
No.
It's Dobby's birthday.
Oh, of course it is.
Happy
Happy
birthday, my
birthday.
love.
And you dropped him on the floor?
He was on the floor for days.
Oh no.
I still treat him better than everyone else. Leave me alone.
The bar
Happy
is in
birthday.
hell. Okay. Happy
Happy
birthday,
birthday.
Dubby.
Oh, my king. So listen, what even is an OVA? Because again, we talk like we're amongst seasoned old Fujo veterans. And most of you guys get what we mean when we say that. But there is inevitably a younger generation, a generation that came in from like heated rivalry and is now BL curious.
Can I just
No, because you're going to
no
be mean.
no, I'm just gonna have a tiny little aside. Because the last time we were on the air on this podcast, we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about how excited we were for
Mm-hmm.
Ten Dance
Mm-hmm.
and how afraid we were for what the fact that it was on Netflix was going to do to
Mm-hmm.
us. And as far as I'm concerned, um, I haven't seen a lot of horrible things because it does seem like the gay hockey series usurped all the attention and
Mm-hmm.
in its own right uh, projected us once again to the horrible xenophobic discourse of what is good versus bad representation. So I
I've
guess
never seen a gay couple until heated rivalry. That's your fault.
yeah, that's not listen. You know, and like the amount of people, Amanda, who have asked me if I've watched the hockey show. No, like apparently it's coming to Norwegian HBO in
Okay.
I don't know next week. I might watch it, but like once again, a fandom has destroyed everything.
$150 on Patreon and we'll watch Heated Rivalry together.
Okay.
and suffer. So you have your goal.
Okay.
$150. So what is an OVA?
Are you asking? Okay, yes, I thought it was a rhetorical question. Like, are you asking me? Is this a test? No, okay. I also want to add to what you said that not only do we just assume that everyone's like, because it's like that everyone is on our page and maybe the younger audience don't necessarily know what this is, but also if you, as you see from the outline, I added in some words because I remember also in our generation people were confused because you have the OVA and then you have an OAV, and for the longest time people were debating whether these were the same things. So first of all, no. Both are original video animations. What this means is that these are short animated shows that sometimes they're regular anime episode length, like they could be like around 24 minutes, or they can be up to an hour, but they're like one episode. Sometimes these episodes are also classified as movies because they are around an hour long. But the OVA stands for original video animation because these were typically released directly to DVD or VHS for the older ones. And this is also why it was known as original animated video. But apparently, I had to Google this. I wanted to make sure that I didn't misinform anyone. And apparently, the reason why they changed the labeling from OAV to OVA is because if you know anything about Japan and Japanese media, you know that AV stands for adult video, and not all OVAs are adult videos. Not all of them are horrible men having sex with each other. Some of it are just like, you know, it's like a bonus episode that's wrapped with your favorite cute manga, you know? So that's why they differentiated and changed it into OVA, apparently. And then these days, we would refer to these as ONA, which, again, unfortunate word over here, but ONA, original net animation, is essentially the same thing. But I do find that the ONAs are typically, they have more episodes, but they're shorter. So they're typically like 2 to 5 minutes long. But sometimes they'll be, you know, they will be regular length. It's kind of arbitrary. But yeah, so the series that we're talking about are, this is what we got, okay? We didn't get, it was very rare in the olden days that you would get a half season BL anime with 12 episodes. 24 is unheard of. 12 is a rarity. What we would get was 1 to 4 random ass episodes that could be anything from 20 minutes to an hour. Sometimes one 20-minute episode would actually be 2 episodes with severely condensed versions of the story.
Yeah. I know, especially like coming up, for me, OVAs always entirely meant like movies. Like they were like events to be marathoned because they were usually, packaged illegally for us, like all on one disc or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was usually 2 episodes, really like back to back, meant to be watched like all together to tell a more cohesive story.
Yeah.
Because if you cut one in half, it's not usually like a manga volume where like, okay, we can neatly wrap up where we are, and if you never get back to it, that's okay.
Yeah. But I think one of the reasons why this is also this creates some problems because as we will delve deeper into, but like at least one of my main problems, I talked about this before, OVAs have a release schedule that is just made in the inner circles of hell because they would typically release, sometimes you'd get multiple OVAs over the course of maybe like a year, but I think that's like later in the game because as I was going through my folder on my hard drive and I was like, okay, let me revisit some of these vintage OVAs in preparation for this episode, and you find things like, okay, so say Ai no Kusabi. Ai no Kusabi has 2 episodes. We're talking about the original OVA, not the 2012 cancelled version, but the original, possibly also cancelled version. It has 2 episodes. The first episode aired or was released in August 1992. Do you know when episode 2 was released?
2007.
No, it was not bad, but it was released in May of 1994. It would take 2 years to get to see 2, again, extremely condensed episodes because I will get into that. But like, sometimes these things are really hard to follow unless you're a hardcore fan of the original material.
Right.
But as Western fans, we didn't necessarily have access to the original material.
Right. And we're, of course, keeping this very, very limited to BL when it comes to talking about OVAs. Technically, it's an industry-wide term.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about OVAs, we very specifically mean our Japanese-related media properties.
Yeah. And
yes.
And I think that in a lot of cases, right, you get an OVA. It's like a little treat for the fans, right? They will release a couple of episodes for the fans. They will find a production company and they will put money into it and create these episodes. But sometimes, like, and this is regardless of whether it's BL or not, sometimes it will have success and they will pick it up and turn it into a larger series. And I think that for a lot of more quote unquote mainstream anime, like not BL, that is the case for a lot of them, that you will have, like, for instance, something like Horimiya, right? The Horimiya OVA is still ongoing.
Yep.
But the Horimiya full-length anime has concluded while we are still waiting for the remaining episodes of the OVA. So that's one of those things where they gave us an OVA, and then the OVA was successful, and they were like, oh, let's put money into it and make it a full-length feature.
And we also, of course, have to talk about the very, very different experiences that Western fans have with OVAs versus Japanese fans have with OVAs. Because one thing about OVAs, I think you'll pick this up if you listen to Carola and I talk about them, is they're, for better or worse, treated with a certain level of reverence. They are sacred items within this fandom, again, for better or worse. Because if you're a Fujo in 2004, and you really like Ai no Kusabi, that OVA is the closest you're getting to an anime.
Yeah.
that's the closest you're getting to some volumes of the manga, which are just not coming out in the US or abroad.
And yeah.
Yes.
No, I'm just dissociating. I'm just like war flashbacks.
Like, these are sacred tomes.
Yeah, like you need to know that these are not, this is, again, we cannot stress this enough. This is the early 2000s. We have nothing. There are no streaming sites, thank God. No. But like you can watch some series. You can watch some elusive anime series on, especially for you guys in the US. You'd have like Adult Swim and things. We had very little. Whatever anime we got were, first butchered by the US and then released in a triple dubbed edition. And I'm sorry, I've been delving into Sailor Moon dubs lately, so my brain is...
There was a golden era where we tried really, really hard and then never tried ever again after the 2000s.
I mean, we don't get to talk, so but
there was a glorious era between like the 1990s and the 2000s where everyone tried really, really hard, and then somewhere in like 2014 they said we're never trying ever again.
Yeah. But in any case, anime is limited. BL, there is no... You need to know there is nothing. Like, if you're super lucky, you can walk into your local store that sells manga and find like a dusty, beat-up copy of Fake somewhere, and it's like volume 3. And the other volumes, you can't find the other volumes. You can buy assorted volumes of Fake, Gravitation, and Airy Query. These are your options. This is what you can find at the store. You cannot turn on TV and find queer content. Maybe you can watch Queer as Folk. And as far as anime goes, everything is, piracy. And only a select few know the secrets to where to find animated BL.
Odd in Fantasy.
Or the friend who hangs out at Odd in Fantasy and supplies you with discs.
Yeah, or very much to my experience, the guy in the parking lot at an anime convention with a truckload of bootleg DVDs.
Correct.
And I think that was one aspect of OVA culture that was so important, was that, again, we talked about this in the last episode with Tyler, which I'm still gushing about, was the necessity of having like a plug of like someone who knew where to get this stuff and them disseminating it to you. I called OVA's holy text, and in a lot of ways that's what added to the mystique, was that it wasn't something that you were necessarily finding on your own. You had to be really in the know. But it was something that one day the most rotten of the Fujoshi in your group slides you a DVD written in Sharpie. And just says, watch this. Like, it's the fucking Matrix.
And it's so funny because, again, with these with the release schedules, so basically for us in the West, this is a whole ass, like, what we had to go through and what we're still going through. Like, spoiler, before this episode, I was trying to watch Viewfinder, which, as we all know, is not my favorite. I have a lot of confessions to make in this episode, Amanda, but we will get there. But I was trying to watch Viewfinder, and I'm very confused because, again, I didn't realize how recent it was. I thought it was a lot older than what it is.
No.
There is one episode of Viewfinder on my hard drive. But according to Animalist, there are 2 episodes. The second episode being released in 2015. And I'm like, okay, but where is this episode? And and here's the thing, like, OVAs are such a mystery, because according to Animalist, Viewfinder is a 2-episode OVA two episodes that are both supposed to be 43 minutes long. I have
Mhm.
one episode and it is 34 minutes long. And I am like, where
You're
is
missing
this?
10 minutes.
What is happening here? Like, did someone
Mhm.
splice them? Am I missing something? Is the
Might.
Animix version something else? Like, and this was what it was like. So you would, and like again, last year when I decided for my birthday
Mhm.
to treat myself and rewatch Book in the Sexual Harassment, and I realized that there was a third or fourth episode that I'd never seen. Because when I downloaded this like a million years ago,
Mhm.
that episode hadn't been released anywhere that I could get to. And then
Mhm.
and then you walk around for like 20 years and you think, oh, I watched that series. And
Mhm.
then one day you realize, no, you watched what was available. And then while you were looking the other way for 20 years and forgot about it, they released the final episode. There's a conclusion.
Yep.
And you wouldn't necessarily know that. And again, because this was such a via system,
Mhm.
you needed someone to deal these things to you, and
Mhm.
you didn't necessarily like you could. The internet was also a very different place, and while
Yes.
we did have good sites, again like Odd in Fantasy, like the
Mhm.
early fandom sites, but it
Mhm.
wasn't as easy. We didn't have Baka updates, we didn't have My
No.
Anime List, so it wasn't as easy
No.
to just look up and find out what is still ongoing, what has
Right.
been canceled. You were just floating in the middle of, I don't know if they'll ever continue this.
Right. And I think that was especially true for BL fans. That it was
Absolutely.
like that was true. Like that was the anime experience. Like you pick up like one random episode of something, and it's like I'm never going to see this again. And
Yeah.
like 30 years later,
30 years later, you find out, what do you mean there's another episode?
you watch one episode in your friend's bedroom, hanging out with the homies, totally platonic as you do when you're in high school. You wake up, you're a middle-aged adult. It's like, what do you mean there's more of this?
Yeah, and the best part is when you find that out, and it turns out that that last part wasn't even released that long ago.
No.
Because the world of BL OVAs is insane. And it is so like it's so mythical and just like it's wild.
It's wild. And I think one of the things that really shocks me is how much things feel like they haven't changed. I'm gonna move up this point a little higher up because I think it fits thematically. But we're gonna have to talk about censorship.
Oh my god, yeah. I was just looking at that and I was like, yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and move it up because I think it's important to talk about and like to get out of the way. I think there's something about being like a global fan now, like acknowledging that BL is not like, I made like a D Gray Man reference where like there's two distinct branches of the military, scientist division where like there's the West and then there's the East and neither of them talk to each other. It's so weird looking at Japan actually like getting stuff that you want and realizing that because especially like the puritanical culture in the US, just the way censorship is in the US, just the way like sensibilities are different here in the West in general, you're never going to get that. Is really weird. This isn't me talking about twittering birds never fly. Don't worry about it. Because we were supposed to get more than one movie. The Clouds Gather was meant to be like the first of a couple of movies. We ain't getting those movies. Y'all were scandalized by calling Yashiro a human toilet, and now we can't get the rest of the fucking movies.
I'm just, still over here thinking about how excited we all were when they announced Blue Links, and Blue Links was only going to release BL projects. And then where are these projects? Like, hello?
Projects. Like, where are they?
Like, I'm sorry. You did like a couple of movies, which was great. But now I'm like, okay, but there's like, and it's so wild because there's a world of BL out there. There is so much BL. Like even on our shelves, right? Like compared to the regular, not deranged, delusional, terrible person, our manga libraries are humongous, and out of everything on my BL shelf, or like my shelves, are 3 of them, so few have been adapted into anime versus if you look at my regular manga. I was going somewhere with this, but I think
was gonna let you.
my brain. I don't know. I was going somewhere, and then I was gripped by the horrible sadness of the reality of how few of these series get adaptations. No, what I was getting at was like, and we will get to the censorship, but I think it kind of ties into this little mini rant, which is like, as I was watching a lot of these vintage OVAs this week, I once again came to some realizations. Like, yeah, we talk about these holy texts, and they are so important to our culture. They're so important to BL history. They're so important to the BL industry as it stands today. But a lot of them are not great.
Yeah, they're not.
And like, not only are they not good, because again, see aforementioned, they're just like condensing these major plots into like nothing and then censoring the hell out of them. So even like but also, and this might be a me problem because I have a very specific taste in fictional men. Okay,
you don't say.
Like, okay, yes, I like my men horrible. That is covered. They got that part of it. Like, don't worry. Yes. But I do like myself some twinks, and most of these men are very. They're not very attractive. They're very square. Not all of them.
I'm sorry. Klaus has a name. And you can refer to him as that.
I'm actually not thinking about Klaus, but yeah.
That man is a box of boxes. I forgot how square he was.
Like, they are incredible. Yeah, no, I rewatched Maiden Rose last weekend as I posted in the Discord, and I was like, damn, this man is square. And
he's so square.
But like, they are square, and they are so mean. And like, again, I like horrible men, but like, not necessarily like this. And
I'm gonna pause you because we have to talk about Maiden Rose. We're gonna do that at another point. Back to censorship.
Yeah.
So censorship is one of the big reasons why we just don't get these. But also like how these had to internally censor. And I think this gave us, as a fan culture, quite the complex. I think I remember when we were talking about like Antique Bakery and us discussing like how we perpetually felt like we were being gaslit by series that they'd say that this is a BL and then they'd show like a chaste kiss and someone dies because that's the only solution to homosexuality.
And again, most of the time it wasn't even both. It was like either they would have a chaste kiss or they would die. Like, that is it. And like, and it's just, and I have said this, I think this was where I was going to for, with the whole, they're not very good because, first of all, like, they omit so much of the story that unless you are, again, very familiar with the source material, you don't really know what's going on. But you are 15 years old, you just want to watch some men kiss, so you are willing to gaslight yourself into thinking that this is the best thing you've ever seen. Because it has to be. Because this is all you have. And then, so you don't really understand the main plot. But it's fine because they're going to kiss. But then they don't. And then when they have the sex, they don't. Like, you don't you don't like, and there are some very creative ways of censoring BL OVAs. Like, oh, I think we've seen it all, you know, from the Invisidic of level C, the lightsabers, to the still frames, to the cut to black, to the weird cum shots of Enzai.
I had a fanfic that I was reading. It was like a burn romance, and there was finally like a little hint of spiciness, and the author did a fade to black. I love this fanfic author. I think they're one of like my favorites of all time.
Mm.
I wanted to go to their house with a brick.
Don't
just
do
like,
that, by the way.
It's like stand menacingly outside of their window. Yeah, please don't do that. Fanfic authors are great, and we're doing this for free. But like, I want to just like stand outside menacingly. Like, if you don't finish this scene.
But it's also like, it's such a knee-jerk reaction because we were in the trenches with Taki and Klaus.
Exactly.
Yeah, because this is literally what happened to me last weekend. So, as we all know, the world has somehow progressed, and ThaiBL is a thing, and it's also genuinely, like, for a lot of these series, they show, you know, they show a lot. It's fine. So we're watching Dare You to Death, which is on Netflix. I'm like, there's a Jungdunk show on Netflix. What the hell? But so it's on Netflix. You're expecting certain things. It's a ThaiBL. Mm-hmm. I saw their last show. It was pretty, you know, it was pretty nice and spicy. And then last weekend, the episode that came out on Thursday, we're watching it, and it ends with them kissing on a bed, and then it fades to black. And see, a normal person would be fine. But I came from vintage OVAs. So I screamed, like, I'm not even kidding. I screamed, what the fuck? This is Netflix! You don't have to do that!
Exactly. And I think it's so interesting that that's one of those, like, vestigial memories that still haunts us.
Yeah. Like, this is literally, like, my body is reacting. It's like something is sleeping inside of me.
It's a trauma response.
It's a trauma response.
It is a response that we are so used to seeing everything but, that when we still see it in this relatively godless era.
Yeah.
It's genuinely shocking.
And it's like, and it's also like, again, I'm over here. I'm, you know, casually, like, again, because again, I was watching Viewfinder, getting more puzzled by the second, because obviously I don't know what is happening with these episodes, but I am watching Viewfinder. I have seen it before, and in the span of like this, I don't know, like in the span of ages, like just this week, the amount of gay content that I have consumed that has been perfectly fine, you know? And then I hear Akihiko say the words, "But you're a man." And I just go into this full body reaction because I cannot go through this again.
It's so hard doing episodes like this because Carola and I, you know, we're history nerds when we part ways and aren't talking about fictional gay men.
Yeah.
It's so hard sometimes being a host of this podcast and being a BL influencer and being like, yeah, you kids need to learn your history, but also being like, yeah, and it was bad. The history was bad. It sucked. And like,
but I mean, and hopefully we will also get there. Like, not all of it sucked, because
not all of it sucked.
And again, and it was so important.
It was.
But the censorship.
The censorship was such a big deal, and I remember like that was always like the big argument of why we weren't getting this in the US. I think there's also like a deeper conversation here about that line that early BL towed of like
Mm,
what is porn and what isn't porn. And
mm.
like a conversation that we got to have academically with Dr. Kirsten, which makes me very, very happy. But I think we need to have like another conversation about the on the social like ground level.
Yeah.
Because that was always the hardest thing about being a BL fan. And like even now I have it with my aunties where like my aunts like still read like Harlequin and like those romanticy book talky and he thrust deeply into her breasted boobily kind of books. You know,
Oh my god.
the
Where
fairy king took his mighty sheath and sat within her fully. You know, they read that kind of shit. But what I do, what I do
it's true.
is a
It's
boy
true.
terrible. Me writing fanfic with public sex Matt and Mello, that's trash. That's demonic. I'm going to hell. But yeah, the Fae King can lay with his harem.
I just, like just putting it into perspective. If you and we were both like we come from literature studies. So we both know that
Mm,
the idea of who and what Shakespeare was
yeah.
is not what you think it is. Like
No,
like it's all dirty jokes. You
it
just
is.
don't know it because you don't understand the
Yes.
wording, but it literally is. But okay, so look at something like Shakespeare then. And my favorite personally, A Midsummer Night's Dream, somehow it is completely like it's highbrow culture when
Not.
this fairy queen is getting completely like rammed through by the donkey man, and that's
Yep.
fine. And everyone agrees that this is great. And I say that as a person who loves A Midsummer Night's Dream, but like, there's not really much difference between that and the monster fucking in people's manga.
But yeah, but one, I mean, there's a whole like classist white supremacist
Yeah,
argument to
yeah. I
that
mean,
that
there's a lot.
we don't have time to get into today because we'll be here all day.
Yeah, but
Uh,
also remember the eventually. Don't worry.
yeah, we're definitely gonna have to get into that because I love that episode with Dr. Kirsten is talking about it academically, but I
Yeah,
still think we haven't tackled that social aspect of
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
That oh, so when they do it, it's
Mm,
okay and it's art and it's oh women having fun, but when Fujin do it, it's dirty and awful and abhorrent.
yeah.
Um, if you like that romanticy voice read, I don't know. I don't think you could pay me to read a lot of romanticy. It's I'll read a romanticy fanfic if you want. You want to Baku Deku that, I guess. I'll read it. Um, but you know, that censorship, it's the foul dust that formed us.
Mm,
I think you can see it so I think you can see it a lot in both of our writing.
yeah.
Probably
I
mine a little bit more just because I deal in smut fan fiction.
I think that um I think that this is my villain origin story.
Yeah,
I think
but I
this
can
is
see it in
what
yours.
yeah, like this is why I write like when I do write smut, which when I wrote fanfic, I mostly did write smut. And now that I write novels, there's still smut. It's just there's a larger plot surrounding it, but then it inevitably will go into a 10-page sex scene
Hmm.
because I don't know how to not write it for 10 pages
Hmm.
because this is how like these are the trenches I was raised in.
Right.
And I just like my villain origin story is this censorship, which is in part like yeah, no, they didn't really show anything, which is like
Hmm.
who first of all, again, I will go back in time. Let us travel back in time again to that birthday party I keep bringing up when we popped that tape in the VHS in the VCR and we were watching Ninja Scroll or Ninja Resurrection and all of a sudden there's like full on penetrative sex that I don't think was particularly consensual on screen.
I don't
And
think so.
this is between a man and a woman.
Hmm.
And we have all, whether it is on purpose or not, watched hentai. And the amount of animated dick that I have seen in my life, and like just like full on visual animated porn, I know it's out there. And then I sit down to watch BL, and it's a fade to black, or it's a lightsaber, or it's a we only show from the waist up, and everyone sounds like they're having a terrible time. And on top of that, it's almost always non-con or dub-con at the very least. And I'm over here like, this is my villain origin story, because I'm like, why do they never animate the series where people actually like each other, where no one is, what is with the slavery and the pet play and the literal or figurative bondage? What is happening in these OVAs? The fact that I love, like, the fact that I love BL, Amanda, is a miracle considering what I grew up with
all the time. That we are still in this fandom. We're both broaching 30 years. The fact that we're still here.
I have, like, one of the things I have in my notes is that the greatest thing that a lot of these OVAs gave me was that they made me so frustrated that they made me seek out more manga, and then I started reading a lot more manga, and then I found the pretty boys that I was craving, and the consensual sex and the loving couples that I was craving. Not that there isn't a whole lot of other stuff that I also read, you know, but yeah, I had to go looking, because, you know, and I think that is like a lot of us. I was thinking about this earlier today when I was watching OVAs. That when you first get into it, BL, or as we called it back in the day, like yaoi, we were thinking of these OVAs, we were thinking of the animations, and then gradually over time, at least for me, it has become more and more synonymous with books and with manga, because again, there's a scarcity. Like, I remember when my much younger sister-in-law was getting into this stuff, like, you know, almost 10 years ago or whatever, and she's like asking me for recommendations because she's seen, you know, and she lists the things, and I'm like, sweetie, that's all there is. There aren't anymore.
There isn't more.
This is it, right?
Yeah.
But we used to, like, it used to be synonymous with these animations. And then you realize that there's a much bigger world out there, and that's when you can start to, like, find your niche and find your, you know, find your flavors. Because I did sit here watching some of these and reflecting on how while these OVAs are absolutely representative for some types of BL, they are not representative of BL. But when a lot of people think about it, they think about the Dorito chin and the square man and the corn in the corn. Never forget the corn.
And I think that's so interesting, because I think OVAs were one of the first things that I remember about BL fandom becoming mainstream. Like, I don't know if you remember AMV Hell.
Oh yeah, but I watched it a lot later.
A truly vintage artifact.
And may I point out that there is no BL in AMV Hell until AMV Hell 0, which is the porn one. Though I do think, like, I think there is like a Gravitation clip in one of the.
There's a couple of Gravitation clips, and there's a corn clip, because of course there is.
Yeah, of course there is.
But like, that was one of the first times I remember, like, again, because for a long time being a Fujin meant, like, having a coded language that only you and a certain group spoke about. In the Batman comics, there's the secret. Don't make that noise at me.
I'm sorry. I'm trying not to choke to death again. It's not you. It's my respiratory system.
In the Batman comics, there's a secret society called the Court of Owls, which is one of my favorites.
Yes.
Mostly because they're a bunch of murderers. It actually has nothing to do with the owls. The owls part terrifies me, but it's just a group of rich murderers. And like, it's all secret societies and Illuminati coded language. For the longest time, being a Fujin was that. It was all secret societies and coded languages where we all, like, showed up in robes and talked about our fictional men kissing. But then when you see like the corn show up in AMVL, and that became like a shorthand meme, and I would see that referenced like in other like forums and in chats, where like I would mention, oh yeah, like I read Gravitation or I read whatever. It's like, oh, beware the corn. What the fuck? You weren't supposed to know about this without its context,
right?
Like, and now you're making it bad. You're making us look bad.
We are perfectly capable of making ourselves look bad. Thank you very much.
We're fully capable of doing that ourselves. I don't need your help making an ass of me.
Yeah, I don't need any assistance. Thank you very much.
You know, but like, I remember like seeing those jokes and stuff like that, like when I was on Gendo. And it's like, oh, you like this? What about that? And it's like, how did you find out about this? Who told you our sacred text? And then by proxy, what about that is somehow worse than Bible Black?
Right?
Hold on. If we're calling pots and kettles, somehow, how is what I'm doing worse? I've seen Voice of Submission. You are not better than me.
Again, I have watched some seriously fucked up stuff. And most of that wasn't BL, because again, they didn't really show much. Like, oh, okay, you have some dude who's tied up, chained up, whatever. You know, maybe there's a corn involved. Okay. But what I have seen elsewhere.
I mean, I saw a lot of messed up things from BL, but also like I was hunting it down because I desperately wanted to feel something.
Yeah.
Stares at Jano Subete.
Oh, Jano Subete. Whatever.
Like I also desperately wanted to feel something. Like I had been so, you know, like that callus that you get when you sew a lot.
I mean, yes and no. I don't sew a lot, but I know what you mean.
Oh, forgive. I'm sorry.
Do I look domestic to you?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm poor.
No, I do sew sometimes, but it's not pretty.
Like that callus that you get, like my entire mind was like that, so I would seek out increasingly outrageous things because I just wanted to feel something, and then I ended up like fucking traumatizing myself because the inside of me wasn't callous. It was just the outside.
Why are you like this?
Well, you see, in 2002, my dad died.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's not, you didn't do it.
I could have said something horrible. No! It's like, how do you know?
If that's what you were doing in 2002.
No, that was not what I was doing in 2002.
If that's what you were doing in 2002, you were LARPing Assassin's Creed and you murdered my father.
I don't think you need to worry about it.
I guess I don't. But the censorship was crazy, and I think it's so interesting that, yeah, like now you see this generation of Fujin that, like, you can tell the response to it in our DNA. Like, I write very enthusiastic consent when I'm writing. Shut up.
What?
No. Whatever you're going to say is invalidated. When I do write consent.
When I write consent. No, but it's like, again, I am still editing. I took a very long break after over Christmas because you know,
I have to hide you. I'm sorry.
Hide
what?
Me? What?
No, I got distracted by Overhaul.
Oh, it happens. It happens to the best of us, you know. Okay. No, but like I've been editing and again, like you can see, at least if you have some history, you can see the traces of the kind of BL I grew up with. Again, like we've talked about this so much, like how I like, yeah, you know, just, you know, Keiichi, the older art tutor who fucks off to New York. Like there are some parallels here. Like there are some very obvious, like, did I take this from Gravitation? Probably. I just, you know, because it's, but not only Gravitation, because it's always New York, isn't it? Like these BLs, they are obsessed with with New York.
You even made his name start with the first same letter, like it's Gravitation.
Leave me alone.
Just acknowledge that my favorite character in Gravitation has left an impression upon your heart.
He has definitely left an impression. It's not a good one. I also don't want to acknowledge that this is your favorite character. Like, I'm not okay.
That one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, no, but like it's one of those things where it's and it's not only the vintage BL, but obviously that's that's most of it. The other day, last week, one of my young people that I work with, creating culture for the youth, she asked me, what really is the difference between BL and yaoi? And of course I had a full-on meltdown, and I had to
that was probably like a 3-hour-long conversation.
Yeah, and I tried to condense this, what would normally be a 90-minute presentation with PowerPoint, into like a cohesive, short, succinct thing. I don't think I succeeded very well, but I got my point across. And but I was talking about like the conventions of BL, because how, like, what we have talked about this so much. What is BL versus what isn't? And again, like all BL is queer, but not all queer media is BL. But then you go to Japan, and while like BL is its own entity with its own conventions and its own like rule books, and again, these rules can be arbitrary, these rules can be subverted, like we see this all the time, like how, okay, traditionally speaking, BL has a foundation of the Seme is older, taller, richer, etc., but then all of a sudden you have teacher-student romances where the student is the one going after the teacher.
Terrorizing the teacher?
Yeah, exactly. So, like, yeah, there's a foundation, but it also isn't set in stone. So it's kind of hard to explain how exactly these conventions work. But if you know, and it's recognizable. And so that's basically, that is also what we are doing. But because we came from these very formative foundational series, when I did write my first novel, like, yeah, there is a reason why my main character, why his first love is a toxic older man. Because that was what I was subjected to. And also because whether, in real life, if you want to be realistic, that's what a lot of us are subjected to, unfortunately.
I started telling dating stories in Discord, and like it's one of those things that in hindsight it's very funny, but also I see why my aunt was deeply concerned about me for a long time.
But it's like, and and I will also like, I have been in the Sailor Moon trenches for these past 2 weeks, so and you know how I feel. Like, I am so tired of these conversations about problematic anythings and problematic age gaps. And like, okay, but I'm not saying necessarily that it's, that all of these relationships are healthy either. But like, in certain times that are not now, it was more common and it was more acceptable. And when you look at media that is from the early 90s, you're going to see a lot more of it, because it wasn't as, it wasn't as frowned upon as it is today. And not all of these relationships were bad either. Like, there are some that are fine, but it's like, but also we were continuously subjected to this. And again, I remember when I was watching, Katakano, which is my favorite shoujo, and when Yukino talks to, when she befriends Maho, again, these are 15-year-old girls in their first year of high school, and Maho tells Yukino that she has a boyfriend. And Yukino's like, oh, you have a boyfriend? And she's like, Maho, 15-year-old first year in high school, Maho replies, yeah, he's 28. He's a dentist. And then the conversation just carries on, and you're sitting there at age 15 watching this, like, Okay, that's fucked up.
We don't have time to talk about this. We'll be here all day. Oh, I think we definitely also need to talk about censorship on a whole.
Yeah. But my main gripe apart from how what's the point of animating BL if you're not going to animate the part we're all here for? But also like my main gripe is why do you only pick these horrible things?
Yeah, I think my issue with that is more because, like, arguably, sometimes in these OVAs, the most interesting part is not always the sex.
No.
Again, we're really glazing Maiden Rose because we both have so many thoughts about it. And I don't think it merits an entire episode on its own unless you want like 3 hours of Amanda screeching about tanks. I don't think you want that. But like some of the most interesting parts of some of these OVAs isn't the sex. So when the sex does happen and it's meant to carry the same weight as these other scenes, it being so lackluster and vague. Like I'm always fascinated when it comes to censorship of like what is shown. You can list out every filthy thing Klaus von Wolfstadt has said into the crook of Taki's ass, but you can't show his dick.
Mm-hmm.
You can list out the absolutely lurid nonsense that man has spoken directly into Taki Risen's asshole. But we're not allowed to see penises. That's a field too far.
Yeah, and also if you consider all the other things that are shown on screen, like a lot of these things, for some reason, again, a lot of these are like set in like dystopian worlds and like wars and shit, like
bloody and scary.
Like there's so much like people are being stabbed and skewered and blown up, and you can't show a man's penis. Like, I'm sorry. And I
Maiden Rose aside, I will say though, I think the first time that I did see like an uncensored Maiden Rose panel, I was actually startled by Klaus's dick, so maybe that's why it's for our safety.
I mean,
I think,
yeah, in some cases.
The first time I saw it, I was like, ah!
Oh god. Did you see that it's like a reel or a TikTok of this girl and she's like reading Romantasy, and then it's like there's a line and it's like it was so big she could barely hold it with both of her hands, and she takes out like all these household objects and she's like these cylindrical objects that or that
also,
yeah.
Not to spoil our topic for next month, but I think that's going to be something that we discuss is like writing smut before and after virginity. Because while we both went to the Moto Fukaku school of smut writing,
I am a proud alumni of the
Moto Fukaku. I'm a proud alum of the Moto Fukaku school. But nowadays, the concept of it was so big she couldn't wrap her hands around it. Yeah, that scares me. That's not hot. I'm going to need a doctor later.
Keep that thing away from me. Like,
literally, my reaction the first time I saw Klaus Uncensored was like, ah, sir.
This is what, and I think this is so interesting, just like an aside, because I'm not going to remember this for a month, that I think this is so interesting when we look at how things have evolved, right? Because in a lot of ways, the international BL industry, I mean, it's progressing, right? Again, like we are drowning in BL, and we're drowning in good BL, and I will defend like Japanese BL to the death because a lot of it was hampered by the censorships and like weird demands and things, and so it did get like bland and lackluster and weirdly censored. But you don't get to watch great Thai BLs that show a lot and then go and piss on Japanese BL, because we wouldn't have the Thai BL without the Japanese BL. With that said, what I think is very funny, because the Thai BL industry in particular is very progressive in the sense that, they are just mass producing these live action series, and they are so good. A lot of them are mediocre, and some of them are really bad, but a lot of them are really good. But if you look at like the novels, and same with Korean, and again, Korea is possibly the most, if apart from obviously Damme, like censored. Korean BL dramas are still in the chaste kiss phase, because Korean censorship is insane, and that isn't just for the queer content. Like, they, if you've seen any K-drama, like, people are barely allowed to kiss, right? So when you look at Korean webtoons and Thai novels, you will see these roots, because even though their live action production is more progressive, the BL novels of Thailand are still kind of like picking at the traditional stuff from Japan, with the whole, where is the consent? Where is the lube? Why is he, constantly denying that he wants this man, While in Korea, you look at the webtoons, have you seen these penises, Amanda? Why is it so big? Why is it that man's entire arm? Where are you gonna put that?
I read Fictional Fisting not too long ago.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah, the visceral reaction I had to even like a fictional character going through something like that. Yeah, we have many conversations to talk about when it comes to sexual politics. Look forward to sexual politics becoming a long running theme.
We'll just do a whole season, and then like one topic per episode. I think we might have to do that.
It's like it's the West Wing of boy sex.
Yes, the State of the Union.
Oh God, it's bad. Also, I know that our listeners don't need to hear this, but I'm feeling very defensive as an American. Hi, hello. I didn't vote for this.
I know you didn't.
I know this isn't for you. I know, okay. But like, again, inevitably we're gonna have like some listener who's never heard us before, and maybe they're in Scandinavia, and maybe they're super confused as to why this American is here. Hi, hello. I didn't ask for any of this. I voted for the black lady. I tried.
We are apparently going to be punished by your president. So there's that. I don't know, like 3 weeks ago, he was out there asking why more of us didn't emigrate to the US. And yesterday he was like, yeah, we're going to tax the hell out of you because you won't give us Greenland. And I'm like, we don't own Greenland, but also, like, what? So I don't foresee us sending each other anything anytime soon. Fun times.
Yeah, that's just an aside. I'm feeling very defensive and vulnerable as an American. Like, I didn't want any of this. I didn't ask for any of what's happening.
Well, hopefully someone from the right, or I should say wrong instances, like parts of the government, will find this podcast, and they will throw you out of the country, and you won't have to deal with it anymore. Like, hello, Mr. ICE officer, if you're listening.
No, they kill people.
Okay, maybe not ICE. Someone.
They'll deliver me somewhere. It's to heaven in a body bag. Please do not wish that on me.
Yeah, no, okay, maybe not.
Okay, we got political. I'm sorry, but yeah, I'm just feeling very vulnerable as an American right now.
I think that is very fair. Oh. We are 18 days into 2026. What the fuck?
So, what happened to OVAs? Like, what happened to OVAs? Because they were, we talk about some of their shortfalls. We talk about how important they were. Why don't we see a million of these today? It should be easier than ever with indie studios and fan dubbing and everything like that to just crank out 1,000 of these. That one BL that you swore you were the only person who read, me with A Strange and Mystifying Story. I'm the only person who's read that manga. Why haven't we cranked out 1,000,000 OVAs to that shit? What happened?
Yeah, what did like, and I like, on one hand, I mean, partially, obviously, what happened, like, on the, like, at least for the international market, physical media died. That doesn't apply to Japan, because Japan is the only country that gets it, and they still put out DVDs and CDs, and I love them for it. But those DVDs are, you know, again, BL was already very rare and rarely got any form of recognition. Like, I you know, I got these this summer. You know, I got the old Kitty Media DVDs of Sexual Harassment, Okanaganai, and Level C. I thought I'd put them up on display for the sake of this episode. But, like, they were already being published by these very, like, small companies that all went belly up because it wasn't a big industry, I guess. But yeah, aside from that, I really wonder what happened, because you know, there are so many studios, and it's easier than ever to put out, like, to put them on the internet. But, like, and don't get me wrong, because I do realize that there have been some, we just don't know about them, and I think that that's partially because that, like, the network is gone, and it's not as, like, a lot of these, and that's the thing, right? Because this is what I was talking about at the top of the show, the original net animations. So you'll have things like what the hell, The Titan's Bride, or Fudanshi Shokan, Minigishi Loves Otsu. They are still putting them out there, but they are so, like, they're so elusive, like, now, especially now, because if you don't know where to look, because they're not streaming anywhere. Most people are streaming these days, right? And even for someone like me, who still, you know, I download, I buy physical media, a lot of the time I'll be like, wait, what is this? When did this come out? What do you mean Arin subbed this? Because Arin is still out there, but it's just, the forum isn't what it used to be, and the channels aren't there, and the live journal communities are gone, and there are just so many, they're just harder to find, and they're also different in the sense that, again, they are generally these, like, 2 minutes shorts that it's not like, they're not the 50 minutes full, like, I don't know, it wasn't good then, and it's not great now either. I don't know what's happening.
Can I propose a hypothesis?
Yes.
So yesterday, last night, I watched a really, really great video from a Black video essayist talking about Milestone Comics. And for those of you that don't know about Milestone Comics, they gave us, like, Static, a lot of, like, the iconic Black superheroes written by and for Black men and for the Black community. And one thing about Milestone is that a lot of people say, like, oh, well, you know, we don't have enough diversity in comics, we don't have enough Black characters in comics, we don't have enough this, that. And it's like, you're right, we don't. But Milestone came back. Like, it was defunded in, like, the early 2000s during one of the big comic bubble bursts. And also because, like, DC really fucked them up. But Milestone came back. Y'all ain't reading Static. Y'all ain't reading Icon. Y'all ain't doing... Like, I think there's so much of that, like... I'm going to use the word, but I hope that you guys apply the correct level of pressure. Trauma in being a Fujin. That, like, yeah, so many of us were so viscerally turned off.
Yeah.
By all the non-con, by the OVAs that we got.
And then, just to add to it, they also kept getting worse because over the
Yes.
course, again, one thing is when you first come into this, right? And
Hmm.
and there's a pool you can choose from. Like you go on Odd in Fantasy or you go on
Yes.
whatever online community
Hmm.
that has the host links, and you
Hmm.
download everything that's there. So you download
Hmm.
all of the OVAs and you watch all of it and you get traumatized. Um, but then you have to start waiting for the new stuff. And that's when they
Yes.
start putting out, when you start experiencing in real time how long it takes to complete an OVA.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, because we went into that very strange and Viewfinder is part of this because the
Hmm.
Animix, the Viewfinder OVA, is this weird like it is animated but it's not fully animated, and so many of these like there's like a school president one comes to mind. Like they are kind of like they're almost like still frames that move
Hmm.
sometimes. Like what we were getting was just getting worse. They were few
Right.
and very far between, and the
Hmm.
animation quality was, while not necessarily bad, it was strange. They were
Yeah.
weird.
Hmm.
And on top of that, again, like I'm not saying like you said, like a lot of these are plot heavy, or they could be plot heavy if they didn't cut so much from the original source work out of it. But there's a bigger plot around the porn. But let's
Hmm.
not forget that we are thirsty, horny Fujos. We are watching because we want to see the gay. And see, this is where one of my filthy little confessions come in. As I am watching a lot of these vintage OVAs, I think to myself, did I ever actually watch this? Because I think for some of them, I may have just skipped through them to see the juicy parts and then been disappointed or traumatized and never really watched them again.
I realized that with some of these as well, that like I think a couple of these that we have on our list, like I just culturally absorbed
Mm-hmm.
by because that happens. Like not everyone has read Gaku in Heaven, but we all know Gaku in Heaven.
Which, by the way, did get a half season. There are 12 episodes of Gaku in Heaven. They lead nowhere.
I have many volumes of that on DVD. Uh, don't look at me like that.
I
Uh, well, not all of us read Gaku in Heaven. We all knew Gaku in Heaven. Like I realized a bunch of these I like absorbed through Yaoi osmosis.
Yeah,
That like I wasn't necessarily in the room where it happened,
yeah.
but I've heard enough people talk about it and I've seen enough clips to be like, oh, that's that. Uh, but to the point that I was making, also like so much of this stuff was deeply not concerned with consent,
Mm-hmm.
was not really it was such a small representative of what BL is.
Yeah.
And that's not bad. Like don't get me wrong, I'm still a dead dove eater. But that wears on you sometimes. Like
Mm.
I was watching a comedy sketch and someone was like, "When did Law and Order SVU become background noise?" So the worst cases that have ever happened. When did this become like something you listen to while folding laundry?
Yeah. Hi,
And it's
I'm in this picture,
yeah, I'm
and
hi,
I
I'm in
don't
this way and I don't like it. Like me with Criminal Minds. It's like,
no,
hello,
but
I'm in this.
like if I come home tired from being out in the world,
Right.
I'm not gonna put on a show that makes me feel good because I want to be invested in my shows. I want to know what's going
Yeah.
on. No, if I'm gonna relax, I'm gonna watch a documentary about a serial killer, like a normal
Right.
person. You know?
Like I'm not like I joked about this, but like realistically, I'm not like getting off of work, taking off like my metaphorical tie, and sitting down and watching Klaus nod con the fuck out of Taki.
No.
That's not what I'm doing. Now I will sometimes do that with twittering birds just because I love all the artifice around twittering birds, and then when it actually gets to like some of the sex stuff, it's like, oh, they treat him so poorly. But
Yeah.
that's a different conversation that we're saving for our birth month. Okay. We're going to talk about some of these OVAs in a little bit of detail because I realize it's been almost an hour and a half. And then
Jesus
we're going to get to the.
Christ.
We have so much to say.
I know. I know. I know.
And then we're gonna put a bow on it and talk about why OVAs are important. I feel like we've been really negative about OVAs, but we have to come back to talk about why it's important. Carola, do you have a few minutes to talk about our very complicated feelings about Maiden Rose? Because I have nothing but time.
You know, Maiden Rose is one of those that I know I watched it, but it's been so long that I was like, what even is this? And so I went back and I watched it last week, and yeah, it was pretty much it wasn't as bad as I remembered.
No.
And like and I say that with like again, I think again, we sound very negative, but I will be the first person if someone comes in and like you come in as an outsider or as like a new person, like someone who is new to this fandom, and you try to badmouth, you try to joke about yaoi anatomy, you don't go here. You want to badmouth my classics, I will tear your face off because the like I most of these OVAs again. I have a very complicated relationship with them, and I will get to this when we because there's one on this list that that I have heavily thought about in the past 24 hours. But I think some of the reason why there are some of these that I haven't connected with, for instance, Maiden Rose, is that when I first watched them, I was too young to really understand. Like, again, I wanted to watch the boys kissing. And this is where, you know, again, getting back on my little rant here, but it's called boys love. So why is there so much coercion and violence and dubcon? And like, I want to watch people who have sex because they want to have sex with each other, not like because they are blackmailing each other or buying each other at auctions or whatever. But then you have like these things that you need to understand the story. You have to understand the political climate that they're in. You have to understand the themes of the story. And again, sometimes this is hard because so much of it is omitted from the original works. So unlike you, I haven't read the Maiden Rose manga because it has never been available to me.
Me, who has studied the text.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But watching it now versus watching it when I first saw it was a very different experience. And and a much more positive one in how I absorbed the text and like how I absorbed the series. And also I once again am reminded that Taki is a very, very pretty man.
He's gorgeous.
Beautiful. He is beautiful.
I mean, spoilers for Maiden Rose? Question mark. I don't. If you've listened to me gush about Maiden Rose for 5 fucking years and you haven't read it, this is your fault. The thing with the OVA, especially, is it's very loosely trying to adapt the first 2 volumes.
Yeah,
and there's like 5 in total, but on top of that, there are doujins that are canon to the series that explore a lot of the missing scenes that we, again, take for granted, or at least I think Eastern fandom takes for granted that Western fandom is a part of that conversation. So, like, I've read as many of the doujins as I can. I'm sure I've not read all of them, but I've read a good chunk of them. And one of the big issues in Maiden Rose is that by condensing this story down to those first couple of volumes and omitting a lot of that information that you need from the doujins, it really just flips the story on its head, because so much of Klaus's predatory feelings towards Taki feel like they come out of nowhere. It feels like a German guy went to Asia once, found a hot twink, and suddenly wishes to possess him.
Yeah, also, can we just talk about for a brief moment the weird pacing? Like, because they, like, at the very least, could you just put in some text that just acknowledges what is in the past and what is happening now and when there's been a slight time skip? Because it is incredibly confusing if you do not know the story.
And that it's been, they really fudge around with the ages. They don't express how significant the age gap between Taki and Klaus is. They don't acknowledge that this is a love story that's been going on for a decade or so, which is problematic, but we don't have time to talk about that today.
It's fine. They are at war, okay? Things are... Yeah.
Well, I mean, arguably, Klaus has been in love with Taki since they were both, like, small boys, but Klaus is also still, like, significantly older than... But, like, so much of that is stripped for the sake of making, like, a 20-minute episode that you don't get the weight of what's going on.
Yeah.
You don't get that Taki has been a cock tease for, like, 20 years. Or, like, at least, like, 10 years.
Yeah.
And Klaus abandoned everything, moved to whatever China, Japan fusion country live in.
Yeah.
Abandoned his birthright, his family, everything to serve Taki. And now that Taki's home, after having spread his legs willingly the entire time they were both studying in military school, is suddenly frigid.
Yeah.
And icing him out. That he's frustrated and angry and hurt.
Yeah.
But we have 20 minutes. So we have to make the large German man angry and entitled.
Exactly. And this is why I said that I feel like a lot of these OVAs, they weren't made for, like, they obviously weren't made for the people, like, in the out group, but they were barely made for us. These OVAs are made by some production company for the hardcore fans in Japan who have been there all along, who know the story inside out and who are able, because that was one of the things I was thinking of, and we will talk about I Know Kusabi, because I had to do some reading, but it's like it is a form of fan service, where it's like, as long as you're in the innermost in group, you're fine. But anyone else is going to be lost. And for me, again, rewatching Maiden Rose last weekend was a mostly positive experience because, again, I'm older. We live in a fascist hellscape, and it's a little easier to connect to the themes. And fucking, I hate the world. This has been an ongoing theme of everything I watched in the past week. It's like, oh, I live in fascism now. I understand this.
No, it's not.
No. But because, watching it now with more, not only with more adult eyes, but also with the heavy, like, luggage of knowledge I have about BL and BL tradition, I understand it a lot more for what it is. And it was easier to pick up on the fact that, Taki's feelings, and that he isn't entirely opposed to this, but he has these conflicting feelings, right? And they go beyond the whole, oh, but he's a man. They also tie into, there's tradition, there's what he's expected of from his family, which, by the way, is to never spread his legs. And, to remain... Yeah, which he has already done. Like, he's supposed to be chaste. He's supposed to be this symbol and, like, to uphold this standard and this tradition for his family. And he's already betrayed that. So he's in full inner conflict with himself. And so he can't allow himself to feel any of these feelings. But it is kind of hard to get to that when you're sitting there for these, again, very packed 20 minutes going, what is happening? Where are we? When are we? Who is that? Who is
that? Well, and, like, Maiden Rose as a manga, because, like, it's Attack on Titan with canon sex for a lot of it. There's a whole lot of, like, actual war games and strategy that you are privy to, because that's what the mangaka likes. That's what she does.
Yeah.
But, like, you'll get to these parts where it's like, why is there a kid here? What's going on? I don't understand what any of these characters have a purpose for. And I think it's interesting that you say that. If anything, knowing the manga as intimately as I do almost makes me dislike the OVA because it does such a disservice. One thing that I think we need to mention is how much OVAs, again, were used as these kinds of introductory tools for many fans. You know,
which,
I
again,
remember
so funny that it's both an introductory tool,
Hilarious.
but also like you need to know these things to understand this. What?
Like, I am almost certain that I saw the Gravitation OVA, which we're getting to, before I saw Gravitation. And that was the teaser. So the idea now of this OVA being someone's first introduction to Maiden Rose? No!
No, but I know, and it's like this is why I think in many ways this has also trained me to be able to separate into different entities, where it's like this is its own beast and I love it for these reasons, but also I don't like it is very you end up having very separate emotions about separate things, and I'm so obviously I'm very excited to talk about the Gravitation OVA when we get, because that
again, I feel like we've been very, very negative on this. One thing I do love about the Maiden Rose OVA is that the translation stays very, very close to the manga. So hearing Klaus say all those lurid and incredibly possessive things to Taki is amazing. But it is a further heightened experience because of
Kazuhiko Inu. I was just about to say, I'm like, this is my bread and fucking butter, because whenever that man appears in a BL, I'm like, thank the fucking gods, because I can pretend like this is 80 years.
Okay, that is the worst behaved Eri in the entire world.
Well, not Klaus specifically. I think
like, that is a horribly behaved Eri.
Not Klaus. I think
I don't like that.
Sometimes I like to just take him out of context and be like, oh, this is what we could have had.
Much of that is, I don't want to say like it's mitigated, but it is very easily tolerated with those lines that I can still remember when I sleep.
It is also incredibly distracting.
It is.
But he's one of the great ones. Like he's is
so perfect.
Bring back Kazuhiko Inoue OVAs. Just
let him rest. He's like 70, isn't he?
I don't know. So that's the thing. Like that's the thing, though. Do you ever like Google seiyus and then you get their photo and it's like this crusty old man, and you're like, what do you mean? But he's voicing some of my favorite twinks. I'm so confused. I don't like acknowledging that they exist outside of an animated vacuum.
That dystopia is extra big when you look at like American voice actors, where it's like, oh my god, you voice the hottest twink I know. That is a balding middle-aged white man.
It's like, don't Google your heroes.
Like, having been born and raised where Funimation used to be, if you think a voice actor is hot and you've never met them in person, don't Google them, because you're going to be so distracted. The only voice actor that I think is still hot and sounds still hot is Stephen Bloom, who does the English voice for Spike Spiegel and Cowboy Bebop, and he also voices Orochimaru and Zabuza.
Oh my god. What a combo.
Oof. Stephen Bloom was responsible for 90% of the bad decisions I made as a teenager writing fan fiction. But Maiden Rose is so frustrating because you're right. It needs you to have all of this knowledge, which I have.
I don't.
Also, but you have me. You could have asked.
Yeah, I know. But like, I'm also thinking about the me watching it whenever I first saw it, when I did not know you.
You probably may have. By proxy.
Which is bizarre.
I don't like that. That there's a universe where we've probably like read each other's fics and like didn't comment, but we know each other. It's like a red string of fate thing.
At least it's nice to know that, considering I've always been such a social recluse, there is absolutely no chance that we've ever had beef with each other on the internet without knowing each other.
Yeah, you've never. You may have glared at me while I was on my Kitazawa and Aerie ship, but you never said anything.
I
But
was on a different ocean, so I didn't
yeah,
see any of those. I did not know that people actually shipped them until I met you. So
this is a viable option. This is what you degenerates are doing.
like,
There's
excuse
so
me,
much.
what?
But yeah, Maiden Rose, it's so good. I think for giving Klaus a voice, for giving Taki a voice, for seeing some of this animated. And I think it's one of the perfect encapsulations, along with shows like I Know Kusabi, where it really shows the potential benefit, but also the immense limitation of an OVA.
Mm.
Because there's so much story that happens after those first two volumes. There's so much story that's happened before those first
Yeah.
two volumes. And you need that context to understand. Otherwise, it really fucks with characterization. So when people are like, oh, I don't understand how you like Klaus at all. Well, it's complicated. I'm not saying he's a great man. But I also can deeply empathize with the fact that he's been teased and whipped
Yeah.
for over a decade by an Asian shota sex demon.
And also, again, just like latching on to what you said and bringing back a conversation that we had last year at some point ongoing, that because when you say like there's a story before that and there's a story after that, must I bring back up the fact that we recently found out that Okanaganai is still an ongoing manga? Like, it's just some of these are just like, and I had a thought and I don't even know where to put it, so I'm just gonna throw it out there because you do know that it was bound to be mentioned. But I'm like, I was sitting here looking through my hard drive, watching these OVAs of old, and I was thinking, I am both surprised and also very relieved because Banana Fish could have been a vintage OVA.
It could have been.
Because it's right there.
It is.
It is right there. And sometimes I look and like I'm thinking, huh. It's strange that no one tried to condense that story into two messy episodes, and I'm glad they didn't.
Two just trauma-packed episodes where it's like episode 1 in the end.
Exactly, because that's what they do with and this I have I have so many questions.
I'm imagining a Banana Fish OVA where it's just volume 1 and then episode 2 is just Ash bleeding out in real time.
Yeah, no, really, like truly, because sometimes that's what they do, and you just and also, because also I have trust issues. Because we've grown up, like, we grew up with these OVAs, but also, we have grown up with 12 episode half season anime that were animated before the manga was even remotely done, where the production companies of the animes just did whatever, and then all of a sudden they are like killing off characters. And then you find out that this manga is still ongoing and this character is actually not dead. They just killed them off in episode 12. And now you're like, how are they going to... Oh, Tokyo Ghoul, I'm looking at you. What the fuck?
Stares deeply and longingly at Full Metal Alchemist, but we will be here all day.
Right, but it's just like, you can't trust anything. So especially when you get to the OVAs, like, oh, and then they died in episode 2. But you're like, but did they though?
I think that very neatly brings us to the thing that we're contractually obligated to talk about at least once a year. I don't like the glee on your face. It's disgusting.
Oh, can I show you something? So I received a package on Friday. I decided to treat myself over the holidays. So I finally bought some fandom merch from a fellow Fujin on the internet, and I got this adorable little gravitation sticker. Aren't they cute? And also Kazutoki no Uta. These are our yaoi godfathers. This is from Alicia Rose art on Etsy.
Thank you. I did just call Suichi a homewrecker, and I don't know why.
He didn't do anything. He was just there. He was almost hit by that man's car. And yeah, but you want to talk about the Gravitation OVAs because they are incredibly interesting.
Ryuichi.
Yeah, that too.
It's Ryuichi Central, and that's why we love it.
But you said that you think you saw the OVA before you watched.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think for me it was the opposite. I think I watched the 12 episode series first, and then I think I downloaded it, and they were like all like they were all together. Yeah, and then for some reason I thought for the longest time, which was probably for like a couple of years, that the that the OVA was supposed like that it was older. No, I mean that it was newer. Like it because it takes place after. Like they are an established couple. Yuki and Shuichi are an established couple in the OVA, whereas the 12 episode series kind of follows how they get together, and again also very condensed and convoluted compared to the the
Gravitation OVA is so interesting because as someone who wrote like over 100,000 words of Gravitation fanfic just for the sole express purpose to tear Suichi Shindo away from Yuki Eri.
Why are you such a monster? They are literally I love them so much.
I always say I want to show Carola my very long Gravitation fic, but she's going to be so mad at me.
Yeah. I'm already mad at you. I don't have to read it. Like, excuse me. Why would I put myself through that, Amanda? Do you remember that on this podcast we talk about how, you don't have to, like, if you don't like what someone is doing, you can just move on. You don't have to click on it.
Okay, but if I, like, deliver it to you bound in a book.
I will, okay, fine. If you go through the effort and you physically deliver it, I will read it.
And you will complain every second.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I remember, I think I watched like an episode out of order for Gravitation. And then I very, very strongly remember like seeing the OVA because I think like someone else was watching it. I was Anime Club president. So I had, like my harem of weebs. So someone else was watching it. My lieutenant or my second in command was watching it because we used military terms for each other.
How fitting.
What?
Because it's combat. It's naval combat.
Yeah, we actually took names from Full Metal Alchemist, so there was a lot of responding to each other as like Colonel and Lieutenant. Because I was Mustang, of course.
Of course.
And I remember seeing the OVA, and I remember Shining Collection so vividly in my mind. And seeing Ryuichi and being like, oh, I hope this is the main character. And being really disappointed that that's the most depth he'll ever get in the series, like the animated series. He gets more depth in some of the doujins and in the manga, but that's about the most depth you'll ever see him have outside just being a deep, mentally ill man.
But it's like I think the Gravitation OVAs are extremely interesting because they do something that I mean, you could argue that a lot of them do this because they just do whatever, but it isn't based on the manga. It is a completely original. Like, and see, this is also where I think a lot of people got confused because original video animation. And in the Gravitation OVA, very much so, because this story is standalone. It doesn't attach to the manga. No. And I was very confused when I first saw it, because again, I thought it was a sequel. And the animation style is completely different. And the animation style, once you learn a thing or two about like anime and eras, you realize that because it's more vintage looking. And I used to not like the animation but now I really appreciate it for what it is, and
Same.
also that it is very similar to what Murakami Sensei's art looked like at the beginning of the series, whereas the 12 episode series is a lot more similar to the how they kind of get more rounded and a little prettier, as because she would just scroll them down to begin with, and I find that very charming. But yeah, it is an original storyline that doesn't have root in the manga, and I think that works really well. But obviously at first you would be confused because you don't, like, again, if you don't know these characters, you have no idea what's going on. You don't, why is Seguchi there? Why is he being so mean? Like, what is
Okay. Listen, I've endured many an attack on my favorite characters in this series. Some of it is deserved. A fraction of it is deserved. But Toma Seguchi is just a man who is doing his best to navigate the music industry while also dealing with the immense interpersonal relationships that he has built over many years. He has made mistakes during that process.
Yeah.
But overall, I think he's done a wonderful job of maintaining home life balance and being a media mogul.
Okay. Yeah. That is one way of putting it, I think. That is interesting.
You're so mean to me.
You're mean to me.
You're mean to me, my horrible man.
No, but I also will say this. I think I'm stupid. Like, because I don't know. I feel like a lot of these are like I watched them and then I formed a relationship to them while also not understanding what was going on. I have like this vague memory of watching the Gravitation OVA and not understanding it. And now I'm over here like, what is it to not understand? What was it I didn't get? But maybe I wasn't... I don't know, maybe I watched them out of order like you did. Maybe that's what was confusing about it. But I don't know. I can't put my finger on it.
I don't like that accusatory like you did. We watched the same show and just happened to draw very different conclusions.
Yeah, no, but you literally just said that you.
I did. I watched it out of order.
Saw it out of order, and it's confusing, right? And again, with the online climate that we grew up with, and you know, like how things could be just horribly mislabeled. You could have watched, you know, 4 episodes of Gravitation and then accidentally watched one of the OVAs in the middle and not, you know, and being like, why does this one look so different? Oh well, and then just carry it on because that was kind of because that was how it was.
Yeah, we struggled back in those days.
It was a struggle, but I think Gravitation is one of the it's one of the really good ones because
I agree,
because it's so self-contained because of that story. The music is great, the animation isn't bad, the characters are very true to themselves.
They're so oh my god.
And it's like I appreciate it so much more now than when I was younger, because I think when I was younger I was disappointed because I didn't like the animation. And I wanted it to be a continuation and I didn't like, but now like I appreciate it so much and yeah, and also it's very funny.
I've always really liked it. I think as someone who was able to use it as like a refuge from aspects of the anime that I was trying to hide from, because you can very easily just like carve out parts of some of the OVAs and just be like, we're just going to focus on the fact that Yuki and Ryuichi keep talking to each other. Is that a pairing? That could be a pairing.
And yet you completely like disregard the fact that Yuki wrote that song about Shuichi, knowing full well that Shuichi would be there and hear it. And like, this is how Yuki put his feelings into song. Like, it is. I
told you my theory about that song.
So beautiful. I know. I don't. And I disagree. But I've never been, and I've said this before, like I've never been a huge fan of Shining Collection, like sound wise, like the way it sounds, because I don't like electronic pop music
I
that
love
much.
it.
But the song that Shuichi sings the Under the Moonlight, I love that song so much. Why are you like this? I think it is. No, but also, okay, we can disagree. But do you agree that the music in the OVA is actually better than the music in the longer series?
Better is a complicated word for it. I think that's still because you're asking me to put away a lot of nostalgia.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I know. And
You're asking,
as I heard myself saying that, I was like, wait, I don't know if I agree with this myself.
Yeah,
but
you really climbed the top of the fence there. I mean I can't say better. I think when you complete it as an oeuvre, it's quite nice. But yeah, I have theory on Shining Collection. If you guys want my unfettered thoughts about that, please feel free to hit me up.
I think what makes me think that is that why did they keep playing the Rage Beat over and over? Like there are so many songs. Why couldn't they sing any of the others?
I actually don't hate the Rage Beat.
I also don't hate it. I just wish that they'd played more of the songs in the series instead of just like the Rage Beat over and over. But I love the Rage Beat, don't get me wrong. I love Sleepless Beauty. Like I think and the piano version, Jesus Christ.
That used to be my ringtone for the longest time.
I love
because I am a nerd. So yeah, if you pick up anything, watch the Gravitation OVAs because we both like those.
Watch the Gravitation
for very
OVA.
different reasons.
No, but we do recommend. We both warmly recommend it for different reasons. Watch it and hit us up and see who you agree with. Whose team are you?
Well, don't frame it like that because I'm always going to sound like the tinfoil hat wearing Lou.
No, but actually,
I have valid ideas about.
This is just a ploy for me to get more people back into Gravitation. Come on, you can do it.
I have valid reasoning to think that possibly Kitazawa, being one of Aries' first sexual experiences, probably did something to him. And I'm not saying that means that Kitazawa's Aries' first love is a good thing. I'm just saying that that's a reality.
No, and I agree. I just don't.
No, what was that? I think I heard something in the wind there.
No, but obviously, of course, because this is exactly what I've done in my writing. Like, yeah, he's obviously, this isn't good for him, and it ends in an absolute tragedy, and Kitazawa is like a horrible person, but Yuki's feelings at the time were still valid, and that's like the entire point of the manga. This is why I say one of the most, like, okay, we're not going to talk about the manga. You want to hear me talk about Shuichi's incredibly deep, insightful monologue towards the end of the manga. I have a whole video on that.
Don't care about it.
I care about it. But I was going to say, this one is actually quite easy to watch because when they re-released Gravitation, the newer Blu-ray edition, they for the first time bundled the original OVA officially translated into the Blu-ray. So now you can even watch it in slightly better quality than we had.
Than the toilet paper stained version that we got.
Well, I don't understand what you're talking about. It was peak.
It looked like someone ran the cell prints through mud. Like someone hit it with their car. Do you want to talk about I Know Kusabi?
I do! I have so many thoughts because what the fuck, Amanda?
Okay, so I Know Kusabi, as I mentioned, I think I absorbed that one through osmosis. And I didn't really remember like sitting down and watching it until very, very recently. I don't know. Maybe it's the flashy TikTok edits. I kind of fucks with it.
Okay, because here's the thing. I've never liked I Know Kusabi, but I know why. Okay? Because again, I was young, I was naive.
Yes.
I wasn't prepared for the all of that. Like
Yeah.
the being chained up and not appearing to enjoy himself too much. Like again, it's that thing, right? Plus,
Mhm.
add into it that they're not really my type. Why is Iazon so? He's so wide. Like he's supposed to be very pretty, but then he's so wide. But then rewatching it, I had a much better experience. But I will say this because I watched Aino Kusabi last night,
Mhm.
and I had to stop between episodes 1 and 2 and do a little reading, and then after episode 2 I had to read some more because the way that this OVA just glosses over everything that would make this make sense,
Yeah.
it did not make sense to me when I watched it the first time in the early 2000s. It did not make sense to me yesterday because you would think that they would at least explain what is a blondie, what or who is Jupiter, what is actually happening. And they don't. And like
They don't.
literally everything that could give you any context clues as to what the fuck is happening is not there. And this is complicated.
It is. I think I process I know Kusabi a little bit better because it reminds me of watching Trigun for the first time. Where again, Trigun, the anime, is really hoping that you've read all of the very technical science stuff from Trigun Maximum.
I haven't.
I didn't either back then. I was too busy focused on knives. Like it's really hoping that you absorbed all the science, technical stuff about the plants and everything like that from the manga. And it just doesn't explain and changes a lot of the rules for that. So I think I processed I know Kusabi in a very, very similar way of like, let's just take this at face value and we can unpack this later, and that later was never.
Yeah. And so there's so much, and again, I'm not big on sci-fi. I don't like sci-fi and futuristic things a lot. So I think but my brain capacity wasn't ready for that. Certainly not as a teenager. But when I literally immediately I turned it on last night and I watched a couple of minutes, and I have such a deep appreciation for the animation.
Yeah,
because again, when I first watched it, because again, this is one of those things that I do think we talked about it, if not on the podcast, you and I have talked about it, about how when you you get into anime, especially now, right? If you're a young person today, you get into it and everything is so polished and it's digitalized, it's high quality. Everyone is you have the studios like Mappa and Kyoani out there just creating the most gorgeous things, and it's kind of hard to appreciate.
Some studios are using AI.
Yeah, well, yeah, we don't like that. Watch Aino Kusabi does. Or read Aino Kusabi, I guess, because there's AI in that too. They just didn't touch upon it in the OVA, but apparently that's a big part of the plot thing. But it's you don't appreciate the older styles because it's so rough, and it's kind of rough and scratchy, and now there's this immense nostalgia attached to that, and also just that deep appreciation for how much work went into hand animating these everything, especially the backgrounds and the scenarios, the action shots. One of my favorite things I have learned over the past years is old 80s 90s anime and explosions in the way they animate smoke. I love it so much, and Aino Kusabi full of that. Just for the visuals, I have such heightened respect. Also, it turns out that once I read up on it, the studio that made the Aino Kusabi, the original OVA, they also made stuff like Bubblegum Crisis, and they animated the remake of Uchu Senkan Yamato. So they have so much classic stuff under their belt as well. So this is no small fry studio. This is actually this is some quality stuff. It's just kind of hard to understand because they really did not bother telling us the plot.
No, and it's like dazzle camouflage. That it's like we're going to overwhelm you with spectacle so you don't think about the story too much.
Yeah.
And it works.
It works, but like again, after I'd seen the second episode, I was like, okay, let me just read through the Google, like not Google, but let me just read through the wiki article, like read through the plot of the novel, and also read through how they describe the episodes, like the description of what happens in each episode. Because I'm like, is it just that I'm too stupid and it's like my brain just turns off the moment it's sci-fi? But no, because they don't explain, and it's like one of those things. Like there's a scene in the second episode. Spoiler if you haven't seen Aino Kusabi, I guess. Okay, so in episode 1, there's this guy Katse, and he talks to someone, and he's talking about how, oh, I used to be Iason's furniture. They don't explain what a furniture is. Okay,
No, they don't.
And then in episode 2, after Riki talks to Katse after he's been with his old what they call pairing partner, which I guess is a form of lover. They don't explain that either, but like I guess that's what it is. And he talks to, because he has revealed to his old pairing partner guy that he has been Iason's pet, and he takes off his clothes to show him. And I guess that's when we're supposed to find out that that pet ring is actually like a cock ring. And that's what he's showing him. And then after that scene where it, at least to me, appeared like all that was happening was that Riki was having sex with Guy, apparently Guy cuts off Riki's penis. And then he goes to Katse and he says, oh, I'm the same as you now. I'm no longer a man. I'm like you. And I'm like, wait a minute. Are they trying to say that he's been castrated? It's like, it's so convoluted. And you still don't know that a furniture is a castrated person who is like basically living like a servant who's to be just not acknowledged, like a piece of furniture in someone's house. But it's like, this is stuff that if you have not read the novel, because in Japan it's 1 novel and then in the international version it's 8 smaller novels, like if you have not read this, which you haven't, because these books are nowhere to be found, and they didn't release the final 2 or 3 volumes until like years, like there was like a several year hiatus, so very few people have actually read this. Never mind the fact that these books started coming out in like 2010 or something, while this OVA existed in 1992 and we all watched it. Do not tell me that anyone knew what the hell this was actually about, because how could you? But it is, again, I would love, and that was why, when they made the 2012 remake, that was supposed to be more, but then it was cancelled after 4 episodes. Like, we could have had something, and it wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have been the same quality, because now, again, I have so much more appreciation for the 1992-94 OVA, but I would have loved for this to get like a proper adaptation where the story comes to its right, especially because I was thinking a lot of these OVAs, they deal with some stuff, don't they? They deal with like class differences and discrimination and xenophobia, and they are actually surprisingly deep. Or they aim to be, but then they cut out all the plot.
Well, I was about to say, the manga that inspires the OVA usually does. To talk about Maiden Rose again for a second, that was one of my favorite aspects of it, was that like geopolitics and xenophobia that came with, oh, these are 2 men from very different worlds. Yeah. And they face shit for it.
Yeah, and the same with Aino Kusabi, where you have like, there's an AI controlling the world and has divided people into classes based on their looks, where the white blonde people are superior and are the elite, and Riki is like the bottom of the barrel because he is known as Dark Riki. He has dark hair, he has dark eyes, he has that Asian appearance, and he's like the worst of the worst. Like, it is so Like all of these draw on these very similar themes.
I think it's so fascinating because, again, like my rant earlier, you know, I remember one of the early conversations that happened a lot in like BL fandom was like, oh, this is just self-indulgent fangirl drivel, and you guys aren't really like having conversations or thinking about anything. And it's like, we're thinking so much, you just don't pay attention.
Yeah.
Like,
and we would be thinking a lot more if they would include more of the actual plot.
Yeah, luckily I got to have a lot more thoughts about like how racism plays out on both spheres because I read the Maiden Rose Dojins and got to see the vastly different but also very similar experiences Klaus has in Asia versus how Taki's treated in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't just call it Europe.
No, it's Europe.
It's Europe.
Also, I had a thing in my notes, and I was like, and I thought it was like, it made sense to me until I Googled it. Okay, because in my notes it says, before there was Hetalia, there was Maiden Rose. Because I feel like there's a connection in the fandoms here. But then I realized they came out in the same year. Which is insane! Because again, I feel like Maiden Rose is super old. When I first realized that this OVA came out in like 2010, I thought it was a typo because I feel like I remember watching it in 2007, but apparently not.
No, it's weird. And like that date thing is so interesting because like Maiden Rose, I've been a fan of Maiden Rose since I was in college, and let's just say I was in college a long time ago. The OVA has been such a small part of my fandom life with Maiden Rose that it feels very, very weird. And like I think that's one of the reasons why, when we talk about what happens to OVAs and why we don't have a million of these now, they feel so out of time in so many of our fandom experiences. They were and are important. They were and are fleeting.
Yeah.
Like we can't take away their impact.
No.
But it also just feels like such an ancient relic, even though it really isn't. It's like that conspiracy that's proven true that a lot of history around like the civil rights movement in the US is depicted in black and white photography, even though we had color photography back then. It's to make it feel like civil rights was really, really far away, even though like Ruby Bridges is still alive. She's on TikTok. Like it's right, like she's on TikTok right now. Emmett Till would still be alive today.
Yeah.
So a lot of that stuff is depicted all in black and white to make it feel like it was super far away. I feel like OVAs do that sometimes, where it's like it feels like this decades old relic.
Yeah. And I feel like, again, I know that there have been OVAs since. I did talk about some of them, like why do I not remember the name of the class president one? Because that one is actually quite enjoyable, although the animation is weird. And again, it took forever for them to put out all the episodes. And, but I feel like there was an era and it kind of ended. Like the class president and a few of these others, like they were kind of like the last of their kind. And everything that has come out since kind of belongs to a different era. This is why I personally at least like to separate the OVAs from the ONAs because of the just the way they're produced and the way that they feel. Even though a lot of the time the modern ones also feel equally disappointing, let's say, because but I think that it's also because, and this is a positive thing, right? We are seeing more and more half-season BL animes coming out that have relatively good quality. Like, there's Given, there's Hitoriji My Hero, Tasogare Out of Focus, Banana Fish, which was a full season, by the way. Like we are getting more well-rounded quality series that at least cover a certain amount of the manga now. And I also feel like with the climate that we are in, with the way that fandom is behaving and the way that fandom is approaching the way that they watch and consume and discuss content. I'm glad we're not getting OVAs.
Yeah, I think like that relicking aspect of it, I think is part of its allure. So when we talk about why OVAs are important, put a bow on it.
Yeah.
I think it's something that I don't think we could recreate now. But I think it's such an interesting aspect of the way fandom used to be. And again, it all ties into that culture aspect. It's sometimes you needed these OVAs to get necessary character information or to build headcanons or to build these things that you needed for shipping manifestos, for fics, for everything. So like now, when I think about Maiden Rose when I'm going to bed at night, because I do, it's Kazuhiko Inoue that I'm hearing as Klaus.
Yes.
Which is a wonderful thing to have.
Yes.
You know.
Once again, totally unrelated to the OVA question, but it is not too late to give me a Gravitation drama reading of one of the doujins. I know you can do it.
Are you asking me or are you asking
No, I'm asking Kazuhiko.
Are you asking me? Because I've only pretended to do the English voice of Eri. I've never tried to be a Kazuhiko Inoue.
No, I am begging them in the slight chance that the Gravitation Seiyu are listening to this podcast right now.
I think we both quit. Like we would if we got like a tweet tomorrow that's like, hello, this is Kazuhiko. This is Kazuhiko Inoue. I've listened thoroughly to your episode. Thank you so much. I think we'd both die.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would die happy.
Yeah, I didn't say it would be a bad death. I just said we'd both die.
No, it would be great. It would be fantastic.
Fucking Maki Murakami slid into our DMs and was like, hey, big fan of you guys being crazy and self-indulgent. Mm-hmm. We'd combust. Like, that's what would happen.
Yeah.
But I think it's that necessity that this was a relic, but also that it's something that we as fans took to heart and carry with us now. So, like, if you ever read one of my fics and are like, wow, these characters all swear a lot, that's a vestigial defense against the censorship in OVAs. If you ever think like, wow, all of Amanda's characters swear a lot, but it's also that intense like defense mechanism from having dealt with watching yourself being gaslit in real time.
Yeah, and you know, like me writing incredibly detailed, very long sex scenes where everyone is enthusiastically consenting, or at the very least, they are very aware of what the body is doing and what they want to happen. Because if I have to watch one more man in his 20s who doesn't understand why
feel funny.
Yeah. No!
My body feels hot. What's going on?
No, what is this feeling? My heart is beating so fast. And then, like, you have an erection. It's like, what is happening, sir?
What is happening? My body's never done this before.
Liar!
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 I hope you guys enjoyed those few seconds of Uke voice. I'm never doing it again.
I'm going to play it on repeat. I'm going to cut it out and, like, have it as, like, a...
It's gonna be like your nighttime ASMR.
Yeah.
Voice. Oh my god. But yeah, if you were inspired by anything that we listened, we didn't talk about the corn. I don't want to.
But we did talk about the corn.
Okay. We're not gonna talk about it further. If you really have questions, just ask us in Discord.
If you want to talk if you want to talk about Boku no sexual harassment, hit us up in Discord, or I guess follow on Patreon. We'll probably
we were having such a nice conversation. I have so many feelings. And if I open up Media Player, Klaus is about to kiss Taki in their dormitory that is absolutely not named very similarly to a concentration camp. Don't worry about it.
It's fine. It's not.
Because you couldn't just make it a different name.
No. I mean, the thing is, like, we're trying to wrap this up. We could stay, like, we could be here longer. It is amazing how much there is to say about this, and it's one of these. And of course, as always, it gets a little bit messier than we intend, but I think that's mostly me.
We're messier than we
Yeah.
intend.
It's supposed to be messy. These are the OVAs that raised us, that were like, plot, figure it out for yourself. Like,
right. And I go back to, because this is a mystery mask tool that may be important for later. I think it's amazing of how much you can see us, Carola and I, and then creators have such massive defenses built up to protect us against what we dealt with.
yeah.
I think that's fascinating. That like we have built armor to protect ourselves from these blows that turned us over and made us vulnerable when we were younger, and now we're like a glyptodont. We're just a walking tank of like Yaoi plot armor.
Yeah, we had to build our own plot armor because it didn't exist.
No, we were just getting knocked over and eaten.
And again, like I have so much like nostalgia and appreciation for these series. And again, some of them are better than others. Some of them, even though you don't understand what is happening plot wise, the art alone, like it's just, it was a part of history and it was part of what brought us here. And if you are not one of us and you didn't suffer through it together with us, I don't want to hear you complain. I will fight you tooth and nail to defend some of these terrible OVAs, because this is the asylum where I was raised.
Right. Like I say all this about Maiden Rose being probably the biggest fan of Maiden Rose that has ever existed. If any of you unwashed bastards come for that series in the comments, I will fight you. I've been waiting for this moment my entire life. So yeah, like it is weird to have that very conflicting feeling with it of like, yes, I want new fans to watch this stuff. I want you guys to know the history. Old fans, if it's been a long time since you've seen an OVA, go find one.
Yeah. But like I transferred all of my old ones from a hard drive that is barely alive onto my current one, and there are so many OVAs on there that I haven't seen for years and years, and now I am just going to use this January as an excuse to rewatch so many of them, because it really is an experience.
It is.
And maybe you can find some new appreciation for some of them. Like I didn't think I could appreciate Aino Kusabi the way I have realized in these past 24 hours that apparently I can.
Yeah. I didn't think I'd come around on the Maiden Rose OVA like I did, because I used to really like that. Used to viscerally make me uncomfortable, even though I've read Klaus non-conning Taki for years. Is it a cat?
Yeah, she's creeping on us.
Juby or Sully?
No, Celebi. Juby is on the couch next to me, and Celebi is now climbing down from the tower. And I think she thinks she's being sneaky, but she's not. So dumb.
But she's not sneaky at all.
No.
Wow, we sure did have a lot to say about vintage OVA. It hasn't been 2.5 hours. Don't worry about it.
I can't believe. Actually, I can.
Jose, don't lie. Yes, you can.
No, I think this has been great. I've had a great time. And again, like, if you think that we sound overly negative, like, I mean, there were some things, but it is an important part of BL history, and I do think that you should give some of these a chance.
Well, and I think one thing that you can usually hear in us is that frustration comes from love.
Mm-hmm.
That frustration and want for things to be better comes. If I didn't care so deeply about Maiden Rose, I wouldn't care that the OVA misrepresents a lot of the story.
No. It's like, because you want these characters, you want them to have the best. I mean, even if their story is super tragic, you want their story to be depicted justly, like the way it was intended.
Yeah, talk about Klaus's substance abuse that he picked up while he was serving in Europe. Talk about him being a steroid addict. which is why he's so angry all the time. Talk about that shit.
Mm-hmm.
But no. Foreign man angry. That's all we have time for.
Yeah,
Foreign man large and angry.
sounds about right. And square.
And so funny. He's so shaped.
Oh,
He's so shaped. He's like that in the manga too.
let's learn geometry with Yaoi.
Oh my god, he's such a fucking like rectangle in the manga. It's insane. This is a part of the show where we tell everyone that these videos are what?
They are not monetized. We earn nothing from ads and the like because we use words that the internet does not like. And we, again, grew up in the trenches. We will not censor.
No.
We will not self-censor. Actually, we do. And which should tell you some things about us.
We technically do, but
Technically we do. But yeah.
But if you'd like a slightly less censored version of us, because unfortunately there's still a lot of darkness we have to hide from you.
We can, believe it or not, get even more unhinged.
Yeah. You can join us over on Patreon where we're reworking our merch system. Patrons, I'm working on a system where you guys still get exclusive merch, but I'm working on what kind of merch because I've heard your feedback. It's been really inconsistent and it's been hard for me to keep up with the designs. So don't worry if that program disappears for a little bit. It's just because I'm retooling it. But patrons of all levels now still get exclusive videos every single month. That's a behind the scenes recap, which is especially important moving forward because we're moving our lives to being quarterly. Again, we've heard you, we've seen the feedback. Monthly lives are fun, but it was hard to keep up with and audience numbers were inconsistent. So we get it. We're going to move them and make them a big event later on where we can talk about all episodes and everything at once, which makes our Patreon videos even more important if you wanted that second step of commentary on the main topic to tide you over until we go live later on.
I'm just happily agreeing.
You are?
Listening to you and your advertising voice, just like enjoying. No, but really, like I think it's gonna be. There are some changes. I think they're gonna be good.
Yes. And if they're not, let us know. If really...
just give us the feedback. Yeah. But yeah, do join the conversation on Patreon or just in our Discord where mostly Amanda is alive, where I once again just pop in, drop something unhinged, and then disappear without. Oh God.
I don't know if I told you this, but I was listening to a song from a musical, and I was really liking the vibe of it, and I was really liking the singer, and I was like, why do I like this so much? And it's just the guy that voice acts and sings for Vox and fucking has been. And it's like, well, that's why. It's just Vox. I felt so like dumb and betrayed. Like I was feeling cold and like, ooh, it's a musical, and it's like it's just Vox. You did great. Musical made me feel something that isn't like Rent or Chicago.
I mean, that's nice.
Yeah, it's nice to have feelings.
Sometimes.
Should we thank our patrons?
Yes, let's thank the patrons.
Special thanks to our patrons, Anana Moore, Moons, Aria, Starlight Esquire, Kenny, Koval, Sue, Lucy H, Amora Blue, and Lauren. Thank you so much. Some of these guys, again, have been patrons for years.
I don't
what
even...
is that?
No, I don't even have... Like, I'm just very grateful and... overwhelmed. Like, oh my God, you guys like us.
We say this every episode, but it's like the fact that people listen to this.
Yeah, the abject horror of people actually listening to us.
But I also think that we do good work, and I'm proud of us.
Yeah, I think we do.
and
I
ignore
hope the
the fact
listeners do.
and ignore the fact that I'm literally worried my mic is going to pick up my stomach growling.
Are you hungry?
I'm so hungry.
Oh no. Go eat! Jesus Christ.
We're not done with the episode yet. Remember to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky. Please, we want to leave Twitter. A crown fell.
Oh no!
We want to leave Twitter, but we can't because no one else will. We can't leave until y'all leave. Twitter is still our biggest audience platform for some reason. We can't move unless y'all move.
Come join us on Blue Sky, and then we don't have to keep trying to double post everything.
Yes. And also our Discord, which I regularly post works in progresses from my fan fiction.
Wow!
Yeah.
Maybe I should try to go in and complain about editing more often.
Or, just read my fic. It makes me happy. It makes me happy when Carola reads my stuff because it's very affirming because I think like Carola is a significantly better writer than I am.
I disagree.
Okay. Well,
here's a challenge to the audience. Read both of our stuff. You be the judge.
I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. I think we're both good at different things.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. But
we're both good at different things.
It's a desperate attempt at like not awkwardly promoting ourselves as writers because hey, we do write and you can actually.
I've had a little bit of an easier time promoting myself as a fic writer.
Wow.
Spoiler, I do kind of want to write a book, but I have an immense amount of imposter syndrome about it.
I mean,
so, it's
who doesn't?
It's easy for me to talk about like my smut peddling because like look at my boys, I love them. But like the idea of me like dipping my toe into the pool that Carola is in like keeps me up at night. Anyways, your engagement helps us out a lot.
It does.
So please leave us a comment, share the episode, rate us if you are on a podcast platform that allows for ratings.
Talk to us in the comments. Lock your friends in a car and make them listen to us.
Do not lock your friends in cars.
I thought that was like our brand thing.
It is.
Is that not what our listeners do?
When I was driving back and forth between Dallas and San Antonio like a couple of weeks ago, and I was listening to us in the car. I locked myself in my own car to listen to us.
Maybe that's what I should do.
You should. I can't believe I'm the number one consumer of this podcast.
I can. Hey.
Can I help you?
No.
Can I assist you with something? Is there something that you feel the need to bring forward to me at this moment? I'm just
affirming your status as a narcissistic parrot. Your words echoed back to you.
It makes it feel like someone else is at home. Shut up. What are we doing next month?
We are going to be at CitrusCon.
Which is in February?
Yeah. And February is very close at hand. What the? Yep. Yeah, I, for one, am very glad to be exiting January, which is my least favorite month of the year. Holy Christ, it's lasted 7,000 days.
February is the anniversary of me getting canceled by guinea pig stands.
Oh, happy anniversary. I don't even know. How does one... My condolences? Like, what do you want me to say?
February is the anniversary of me getting canceled.
I hate...
During Black History Month. That's racist.
Yeah.
So we're doing CitrusCon, and we haven't fully announced our CitrusCon topic yet.
Nope.
But let's just say that we're tying it all together.
Yeah.
So what are we doing in the main episode, which may give our listeners a hint as to what we're doing for CitrusCon?
This conversation has been a little bit of a hint as well. We're going to be talking a little bit about fanfic writing and the language of fanfic and how it has changed.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think especially having dove back into the pool of fanfic relatively recently, there are things that are happening in fanfic that I think we wouldn't have agreed on years ago. Like,
Mm,
this would not stand as it does. There's different ways that words are used. There's different parlays and phrases. For the sake of my Matt and Mello fan fiction, I had to do a lot of research on the game Roulette. Shut up.
I don't. I can't. I just. Still think this is a very funny. Yes, Amanda fact.
Literally, it takes up like 3 or 4 paragraphs, and the rest of it's just going to be like public sex and a very canon compliant breeding kink moment. But I did a lot of research about Roulette,
Truly.
and like,
And James Bond.
I'm still mad about that. I'm still angry about that. That this is knowledge that only I hold, but it's an entirely different language. Fanfic uses completely different terminology than it did when we were coming up. It uses completely different ideas than we did growing up. Now, some things are the same,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll talk about some of those things.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. I think
Mhm.
it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. And, you know, again, it gives us time to talk about us as writers and process and, you know, how we've had to adapt to, you know, going from the Motofukaku school of fanfic writing to now writing over 5,000 words about Jason Todd and Dick Grayson having sex in the Batmobile to piss off their dad.
I mean, you could technically do that in the Motofukaku school.
It'd be a lot less interesting. Be a lot less interesting.
Yeah, I do think that that is, you know, that is one of these things that is like one of the things that truly have perks about getting older and spending more time on the hellscape that is this planet. You do become a better writer.
Yeah, you do. You do.
There's that.
There's that. So we're going to talk about how fanfic language has changed, and stay tuned so we can drop our CitrusCon panel topic.
I'm so excited. I
We
love
need to
it.
outline our CitrusCon panel document.
I know, but you know, it's fine. We have like a month.
We had a quarterly meeting literally last week.
Yeah.
In which I told Carola we need to get started on this because it's going to sneak up on us. It's been a week. Neither of us have done the homework we needed to do.
No, but we have both been busy.
Watching OVAs.
Yes, that too. I was going to say, you know, you've had important things to do, and I'm pretty sure I had a lot of stuff this week, and I can't for the life of me remember what they are now.
Mm-hmm.
Are you wearing our lemon?
There was a period of time, Yaoi Shelf fans, that I went crazy on Vogue Race and decided I was going to order a bunch of weird merch that didn't go anywhere because Carola and I are both too dumb for e-commerce. So we have our lemon as a fidget ring.
I got an email from my website provider the other day reminding me that a bunch of my widgets were getting renewed. And I was once again reminded that, all right, I was trying to set up a web store because I was going to be super productive in the new year with my writing and my stuff.
Tyler, save us.
Help!
Tyler, please.
I will. I will look at it. I will do some things. I'm just. Ugh. It's hard when you're burned out. It's like, where am I supposed to find the spoons?
You find them at the bottom of a barrel.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening to
Thanks
this episode.
for listening.
What a hell of a season opener. Wow. Thank you guys so much for being here. We will see you in the next one. But also, hello, my fellow Americans. There's a lot going on right now in the US and abroad. Don't ever think that your dumb hobbies are trivial.
No.
If you, like me, are using fictional gay men to help you escape the horrors,
That
you
is
are not bad.
Yeah, that is very valid. That is a very sane approach to the situation.
Yeah, you're not anti woke. You're surviving,
No.
and that is the most valid form of resistance that we can provide at this moment.
Remember that your mental health is important.
Mhm.
It is important to take breaks. It is important to self-care. And if that
Mhm.
self-care is holding up inside with some horrible fictional gay men, that is great. And I love that for you. And I want you to stay safe.
Yes. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.